So when I was reading the lesson, the first thing that popped into my head when I was reading it was, don't feed the trolls. And it's interesting because that can be applied both externally and internally, because, you know, it's like you don't read the comments under articles and stuff, because there's going to be all kinds of people saying all kinds of things, and they're just going to round you up, and you're not going to change any minds, and you're just going to get mad, and it's inevitably you end up in the same place or worse. And the thing is that applies internally as well, because, well, there's this saying about how insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And sometimes we have a habit of beating our head against the same wall, expecting it to break, or for us to magically get over it. I mean, over the wall. And sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. So, if you're trying to accomplish something and you realize it's not happening or it's not working, sometimes you have to pull back and try and view the thing from a higher point of view, try and view the whole thing and go, okay, have I tried different things? Am I just doing the same thing? What's going on? Let's say you need to do some chore at your house that you really don't want to do and you haven't done it. And so, you try different things. You can schedule in a day of the week, you can, give yourself rewards, you can hire someone else to do it. I mean, there's whatever problem you're having, there's always multiple ways of dealing with it. Sometimes finding those yourself can be hard. Sometimes it's just a matter of pulling your emotions back and as much as you can and looking at it from another point of view, which, depending on what the task is, can be really hard. Because we tend to get our emotions in stuff, and then it's hard to figure out if the thoughts came first or the emotions or all the things, especially if you're dealing with something that's triggering you on some level. Yeah. And sometimes when you're dealing with things like that, you can also talk to different parts of yourselves. There's a thing in psychiatry about parts work, where you talk to different parts of yourselves and see what they need or what they're lacking or whatever. You don't even have to do that necessarily, but that's a thing I personally have found useful, especially when it comes to inner child stuff. But yeah, because sometimes if you go in and go, okay, this part of me doesn't want to do this thing because X, Y, Z, sometimes it goes back to early childhood. And then you can try and find another part of you that could maybe go, at the thing from a different point of view so that you can frame it differently. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like most things, what will work for any given person will be different, and what will work for one thing may or may not work for doing something else too, especially when we're talking about layers of things that have built up over time from childhood and other people and things that we've brought into ourselves that aren't even really ours, but we've attached something of ourselves to it anyway. And yeah, it's part of why Gnosis is so individual, because we all have so many different experiences, and two people can go through the same events and come out completely differently because they attach themselves to different parts of the experience, or even just we're able to frame or reframe things in different ways, which is also why it's generally a bad idea to compare your insides to other people's outsides. Facebook is kind of a big example of this. People post their best stuff generally, and so it's easy to scroll through and go, everyone else is having a better life than me. No, they're just curating what they're showing, and so you know everything about yourself, and you only see what other people show you. So playing the comparison game, it's never going to be a fair game because you're never going to see everything. Even if you know someone really well, you don't live in their head, so there's going to be things you don't know about other people. Even if it's nothing major. It's just the way we are as people. I could go on a whole philosophy tangent about that, but that's probably getting way too off topic. Yeah, so if there's something in your life that you want to work on, sometimes the easiest thing to do is to find the thing about that that's the easiest and do that first. And that's where the whole, reprove a wise man thing comes in. You find the piece that's easiest, you do that first, and then you get some confidence and, you get a little bit of, a dopamine rush from having completed in the first place. It makes it easier to do the next thing. And sometimes those steps can be extremely minor depending on what's going on in your head, what's going on in your life, whatever. Especially if you've got a massive task, like I do, that I've been putting off for ages. Sometimes you have to, drill it way back down to the point where it almost seems pointless. That's where I'm at with this project. It's I feel like doing anything is pointless, but I know, logically I understand that's not how that works. Because you do anything long enough, you end up with a result better than what you had. You have to do something in order to get anywhere. But another part of my brain is arguing, and so my brain is just arguing with itself and nothing actually happens. But it feels like things are happening because I'm spending all this energy arguing with myself. I haven't come up with a solution for that one yet. But part of my homily is talking to myself. So if you haven't figured that out, a lot of my homilies I'm talking to myself. So yeah. Luckily, you can always ask for help too. Because if you're really stuck with something, you can, talk to the divine, you can talk to other people, whatever. Heck, sometimes you can even Google it and figure it out that way. Again, it depends on the issue. Yeah. I feel like there's something else to say, but I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to end it here and say, go in peace, and may the lady walk with you.